Here we have a pair of TCH rigid handcuffs as used by the British police. I got these from Amazon, and if you're wearing these cuffs and want to take them off, I have some tricks to show you that will help with that. Ideally, you want to have a handcuff key, but you can get free with a snap hair clip and a regular bobby pin hair clip and a little know-how. But before we get to the hair clips, we need to know how to operate the cuffs with the key. The key is a very simple, old-fashioned little thing, and you'll notice it has an odd little poking device on the back. Obviously the key goes in the keyway, and you want to turn it like this, and that allows the cuffs to loosen. What may not be so obvious is that the poking device goes into this hole on the side of the cuffs just here, and when you poke in there you hear the little click. Did you hear the click? I'll do it on the other side. And that click is the double locking mechanism as it engages. The cuffs will not get any looser or tighter. That arm is not going to move with the double locking mechanism engaged. To disengage the double locking mechanism, you pop the key in the keyway and then you turn it the other way. Did you hear the click? And now the cuffs are able to tighten but not loosen, and then simply turn the key the other way to allow the cuffs to loosen. So now you know how to use a handcuff key. And if you're serious about not wearing handcuffs, I highly recommend that you get a key. Ideally with a pair of cuffs so that you can practice not wearing them. So when I got these cuffs on Amazon, I got a pair of keys with them. Just a standard handcuff key. So really you need to get a key. The party trick with the hairpins should be considered a backup. A key is quicker and easier, and you have a lot less opportunity to mess it up. And you can get some very good covert keys. Not that I've got any yet, but I want to get some. But I'm too poor right now. You can get some very good covert keys designed to be hidden on the end of a shoelace or behind a button. And there's even one that's disguised as a coin, so you can mix it in with your spare change. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you really need to not wear handcuffs, then no matter how skilled you are with a hairpin, you're going to wish that you had a key. So go ahead and get a key. Okay, with that word of warning, let's move on to not wearing the cuffs with not hairpins yet, but proper lock-picking tools, such as these. Okay, so it's a two-step process. You start by picking, or at least the way I do it, I start by picking through the keyway. So I take a lockpick and I pick through the keyway to release the double locking mechanism, as I showed you with the key. So the pick is actually imitating the key, what the key does. I'll just stick it in there and catch onto it like that. And then we'll be shimming between the arm and the toothed bars that lock it in place. So I stick this is a Sparrow's ultra decoder, because it's called a decoder because you can use it for decoding combination locks, but we're going to be using it for shimming just in here, just like that. And what that does is I can't really show you the picking because I can't look inside the cuffs, but I can show you what's going on with the shimming. So the shim, which is just a skinny little piece of good strong steel, slips down here and it gets in between the teeth on the arm and these teeth on the ratcheting mechanism there, which you can hear clicking there. And what you're doing is pushing those little bars down. What you need to do is you have to make sure that you come at it from the right side. You need to come in from the keyway side, not from this side, because if you pop it in from that side, I'll show you what happens. You get caught on that little step there. Don't know if you can see it. You get caught on that step there, on the back of that tooth. You need to come in from the keyway side because the teeth are sloped on that side. That way you can actually get your way in. If you come at it from this side, no matter how hard you force your shim in there, it's not going to work. You're just going to break your tools. Okay, now what's next? Well, I better show you the double locking properly, how I do that. So again, these pins on the back, those get pushed in to engage double locking. Okay, now that we've got double locking, we can then pick the double locking mechanism free. Here I'm using a very deep hook, and I just stick it in there, and hopefully I need to make sure you can see what I'm doing to pop it in just there. Ah, did you hear the click? That should be done now. Yeah. So with double locking engaged, oops, there we go, it's double locked, so that arm is not moving at all. There we go. So that's with a deep hook, but you don't really need a deep hook, I just prefer it. So if I use a quite shallow hook, not the shallowest, but a shallow hook, you might have some difficulty hitting it with that. But if you just angle it like this, it can be done. There it is. So that's why I prefer the deeper hook, because you don't need to put that angle on it, and it's a little bit less tricky. My cat needs attention. Excuse me. Okay, so the reason I showed you the difference between the two picks is because when you're making a pick from a hairpin, you may not be able to get the full bend. If you're under pressure, pushed for time, you may just prefer to just make a small hook and make do. So at this point you might be wondering why the picking and shimming. Why not just pick the other way, like the key? Pick to release the arm, like oops, like this. Why not just pick it like that? Well, the answer is I haven't figured out how to do that. I don't know if I guess it should be possible, but these are relatively high security handcuffs, so maybe that's got something to do with why I haven't managed to do it. But if it is doable, then it must be a relatively high skill thing, and shimming really isn't that high skill, so we're going to be going with shimming. You may also be wondering why not just shim and not pick? Why not just skip the double locking mechanism and just shim? Well, the answer is, let me show you. If I double lock this with the thing open, hang on, that's not how you do it. There we go. Now that's double locked. You can see that arm can't go in now. Let's have a look in here. Well, as I bring the shim in, you remember I showed you how you're pushing these little toothed bars down. Well, with it double locked, they don't move. They're locked in place. So no matter how hard you push your shim in there, it's just going to break and you're not going to get out. So you have to mess with the double locking mechanism first. Alright, so now I've showed you some tools and where you stick them. I'll just do a quick escape from these. I'll show you how I get out these with the picks while wearing them. Now this is the easiest position to wear the cuffs, like at the front, not stacked or anything like that, and you've got good access to the keyway. If the keyway was on the other side, then I'd have to reach around and it'd be very difficult, and really difficult even with a key. So I'd want to be doing it with a key, really. Like I say, your picks should be back up for your key, really. Let me just double lock this. Alright, so just a quick demonstration. I'm going to be using a deep hook because I prefer those. Here the click, that's the double locking disengaged, which allows me to shim. Go on, there we go. Oh, a thing I forgot to mention with shimming, you need to come at it from the right angle. If you come in too shallow like this, then your shim gets caught on those teeth there, and it doesn't go all the way in like you need it to. You want to come in at this angle so you're just skimming in past those teeth, and then give it a little help in by pushing that in there, pushing the arm in to help the shims go into place. Alright, so that's the lockpicks. Now you know how to not wear handcuffs using a lockpick and shim. It's time to get to improvising those tools from hairpins. Or snap, hair snap. There's lots of different things people call those. Okay, let's get rid of those. So using these pins, we're going to be making tools like these. Those are some shims that we're going to make, and here's some picks. Got lots of these that I made while practicing. Okay, shims and picks. Alright, so I'm gonna we're gonna start with the picking, the pick for the double locking. And that's actually one of the more difficult parts to make. But we're going to start with that because that's the order that you do it in. You do the double locking first, you do the pick first. So I'm just going to go with that. So I'm just going to bend a nice little handle that helps me operate the pick. And now we have this little bit of plasticky glue type stuff on the end so you don't stab yourself when you're putting the pin in your hair. We don't need that, we want that out of the way. So you can use your teeth. I like to use my teeth to nibble it right off there. But if you've got your hands behind your back, you can't really do that. So maybe if we use one of these. Ah, yes. Okay, that scraped it right off with the hair snap. Alright, so now we want to imitate the bend. We want to take this and imitate the bend of a hook. Now if we were bending along the this way, it really likes to bend that way, but bending it that way, not so much. And you're going to have trouble getting grip on it. Now if you had a bench vise, you could grab the end of it with a vise real tight and then bend it, but we're not going to use that, we're just going to use the handcuffs. That's the tool we need right now. If you just pop it in the keyway just there, it gets a real nice grip on the hairpin. It's just the right size to grip the hairpin just there. Not a great grip, it's very tricky still. But then you can bend it, whoops. You can bend it just like this. Quite tricky. Oh, I've made a bit of a mess of that. Okay, so that's very quite similar to the hook that I'm after. That'll do the job, I'm sure. So these aren't double locked. We'll just double lock those and see if this thing works. Can be tricky to find the thingy you need to push on. There it is, and we've released double locking. So that's how you make one of those. That's how you make a hook from a hairpin. It's a bit tricky. You really want to get a pair of handcuffs and practice. Don't think that just because you've seen it in the video you can do it. You really need to get your handcuffs and practice. Sticking it just in that keyway there. So it's getting a nice little grip on it and then bending it against the grain, as it were. Bending it the way that it really doesn't want to bend, which takes quite a bit of force and dexterity to make sure it doesn't twist and wobble out of there. As you saw, it did twist a little bit, but I was able to fix that. Okay, so that's your pick. We've got a pick. We've made a pick. It works. Now we'll make a shim. So we're just going to take this part. I'm going to bend it just there. And we want that to snap. So you just keep bending it until it gets stressed enough that it snaps. There we go. That'll do. We'll make it like that. Of course, if you snap the other end off, then you've got two ends. You've got a double-ended shim, which is nice. If one end isn't quite working for you, you can try the other end. And sometimes bending it can make a very big bend in the end of the shim, and that can be a problem because it can get caught up on the teeth. That doesn't look too bad, so we're going to give that a try. It might work. I reckon it probably will. So again, sticking it in at just the right angle. You want it pointing towards that keyway just there. And remember, on the keyway side, not on that side, because that's just going to get stuck. I'll use that to give me a little bit of grip on it. Okay, I'll give it help. Come on. There. Nice, I'm pleased with that. I'm very pleased with that, because quite often you have a big bend in there and you have to use your teeth or something to get that little bend out the end, otherwise it stops you from getting those open. So there you have it, basically. you can make the tools out of practically nothing with nothing but the handcuffs you're wearing, really. So that's nice. There is another shim option. There's these metal cable ties. It's if you're into cars or motorbikes, then you might be familiar with these, as you put heat shielding on your exhaust or your exhaust manifold. Usually with the kit you get some of these to secure the heat stuff on there, and those work very well as a shim. You may want to put a little bend in there so you've got something to grip onto. That should work. Just perfect, really. And here's one I made earlier. It's a nice little shim. Put some heat shrink on the back, and that's can be concealed in a waistband or something. Get past most searches. Obviously metal detectors might be a problem for that. But alright. What else? Oh yeah, another thing on shims and improvised shims is these triple, you have 3 separate bars on here. If you manage to get a shim that's very narrow, it can push down one of them, but not all 3 of them, and you need to have all 3 of them pushed down to get it open. Or if you push that middle one, down on its own, it actually opens all 3 of them at once, which is a bit of a design flaw. Otherwise these are very well designed. You know, they have the plastic shielding to make it difficult to get at the keyway for picking. They have the 3 bars, which makes it difficult to shim with just anything. But if you have something wide enough, the ultra decoder is just barely wide enough to get 3. It's probably just getting 2, and because it's getting that middle one there, it's pushing down all 3, so it works. So hang on a second. So that ultra decoder is 3.15 millimeters wide. So that's really about the, you can get away with probably a little bit, something a little bit narrower than that. But so for improvised shims you want something 3 millimeters or more. And I think that that metal cable tie is about as wide as you're going to fit in there. And that is 4.4 millimeters. So really 3 to 4.5 millimeters is about the size you want for a shim. And it has to be relatively strong, ideally stainless steel. Those hair snaps are surprisingly strong. Alright, so I'll say it again. You need a lot of practice to get this right, especially when you're under pressure and pushed for time and adrenaline is flowing. You need a lot of practice. You need to get some handcuffs. Go on Amazon, search for TCH, which stands for Total Control Handcuffs. TCH, and look at whatever cuffs. Well, TCH do all of the. I believe they do all of the handcuffs for the British police. Search for TCH. There's a few different variations. Just try and get the one that you see in your local gang of kidnappers using, and that should give you your best shot if you get kidnapped. Good girl. Good girl. And again, get keys. Of course, when you get the cuffs, you get a pair of keys with them. Meow. I know. My cat needs attention again. When you're under pressure and you're doing this in a bit of a rush, it doesn't have to. Obviously, the more practice you get, the better. But it doesn't have to look as slick as in some YouTube video. As like, no matter how much of a mess you make of it, don't give up, because this is your freedom you're talking about. So don't ever give up. There is just one more thing I forgot to mention. There's a few different positions that you might find yourself in these cuffs. Okay, so I have showed you, what have I showed you? I showed you mostly this position where the keyway is on the outside and it's just here on the at the top of the cuffs, looking from where you are, from your belt point of view. You could also be this way, where the keyway is down here, and to shim it you'd have to reach in through here, but you do get a good view of the pin on the double locking, so you can see whether you've released the double locking or not, which makes things a little bit easier. But then there's also what else is there? The stacked position, like this. So that means only one hand is really going to have access to the keyways. So I'm not sure. You probably want to do this one, the one that's further away, or maybe this one. I'm not sure. You have to practice with that. And then of course there's behind your back in the same two positions. But also, I don't believe the kidnappers are trained to do it this way, but mistakes get made, you know. You could also end up in this position with the keyway on the wrong side. So in that position, I don't know, it might be possible to pick that. It may be possible. But really you'd want a key, wouldn't you? And even then you'd have trouble. I've seen a video on YouTube of someone getting it from this position using a key in their teeth, and also by putting the key on the end of the finger and kind of bouncing it around like that, but then with the keyway on the bottom end. So this position would be really tricky. My cat is very needy and she's meowing at me a lot. So that's very tricky. There you kind of need, maybe if you put the key in your teeth, you really want a key. Say it again. And then of course you can have behind your back and stacked behind your back as well. So like that, but behind your back, so you can't really see what's going on, so you have to feel around with your finger to find the keyway and find out which side it's on. So whoops, when you're feeling around on this side, you can feel the little screw holes in the back there, so you know it's not on that side. But coming around on this side, no screw holes there, and you can find the keyway. If you've had some practice, and I recommend having keys tucked down the back of your trousers where you can get them from the back, and tucked into your waistband where you can get them to the front. Okay, my cat really needs attention now, so I have to go. See you guys.